For decades, Brazil has been the home of football royalty. Pelé, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, players who didn't just win trophies, they inspired generations. Then in the early 2000s, another young boy appeared. A boy with fearless dribbling, unbelievable skill, and a smile that made football look effortless. His name was Neymar Jr. Many believed he wasn't just Brazil's next superstar. They believed he would become football's next king. Long before the fame, before the world record transfers, before the injuries, there was simply a boy with a football. Born in Mogi das Cruzes, Brazil, Neymar inherited his love for football from his father, a former player who recognized his son's extraordinary talent at an early age. While other children dreamed of becoming professionals, Neymar played as though he already belonged among the world's best. His quick feet, dazzling tricks, and fearless confidence quickly attracted attention. By the age of 11, Europe's biggest clubs had already begun watching him. But Neymar stayed in Brazil, at Santos FC, the same club where Pelé had become a legend. It wasn't long before history began repeating itself. Packed stadiums came to watch a teenager dance past defenders as if they weren't there. Goals became routine. Highlights spread across the internet. Fans didn't simply enjoy watching Neymar, they believed they were witnessing the future of Brazilian football. The comparisons with Pelé became impossible to ignore. Some called him the next Pelé. Others believed he might become even greater. The pressure was enormous, but Neymar never seemed afraid. He played with joy, with creativity, with freedom. Every touch of the ball felt like entertainment. Every match became a show. By the time Europe came calling once again, there was no longer any doubt. Brazil had found its prince. The only question that remained was, could he one day become football's king? Barcelona, Spain, 2013. Barcelona. In 2013, one of the biggest clubs in football made its move. After years of dazzling Brazil with Santos, Neymar finally arrived in Europe. The expectations were enormous. Many wondered whether his flair and creativity would survive in the world's toughest leagues. They didn't have to wait long for an answer. At Barcelona, Neymar wasn't joining an ordinary team. He was joining Lionel Messi. Soon, another superstar arrived, Luis Suarez. Together, they formed one of the greatest attacking trios football has ever seen. MSN. 3 players, 1 goal, to dominate world football. What followed was simply breathtaking. Messi's genius, Suarez's relentless finishing, and Neymar's magic. He danced past defenders with impossible skill. He scored spectacular goals. He created moments that left millions of fans speechless. Every week, it seemed as though he invented a new way to embarrass defenders. Then came 2015. Barcelona reached the UEFA Champions League final against Juventus. On football's biggest club stage, Neymar delivered once again. He scored in the final. Barcelona became champions of Europe. The treble was complete. League champions, cup champions, Champions League winners. At just 23 years old, Neymar had conquered club football alongside 2 of the greatest players of his generation. Many believed this was only the beginning. Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo had ruled football for nearly a decade. But time waits for no one. The world started asking a new question. Who would inherit the throne? For countless fans and football experts, the answer seemed obvious. Neymar, the Prince of Brazil, the future Ballon d'Or winner, the man who would eventually become football's next king. But destiny had something else planned. In the summer of 2017, Neymar made a decision that shocked the entire football world. He left Barcelona, not because he had failed, not because he wasn't wanted. He left to escape the shadow of Lionel Messi. Paris Saint-Germain activated his €222 million release clause, the biggest transfer in football history. For the first time, Neymar wasn't joining someone else's team. This was supposed to become his kingdom. Paris, France, 2017. Paris was supposed to be the beginning of a new era. For the first time in his career, Neymar was no longer standing beside Lionel Messi. He was expected to become the face of a football club, the leader, the superstar, the man who would finally win the Ballon d'Or. The pressure had never been greater. At first, everything seemed possible. His dribbling was as dazzling as ever. His goals continued to amaze. Defenders still struggled to stop him. On his day, Neymar looked completely unstoppable. But football isn't remembered only for talent. It's remembered for consistency. And slowly, the injuries began. One ankle injury became another, then another. Each season, Neymar spent more time recovering than playing. The biggest Champions League nights often arrived without him on the pitch. The dream of leading Paris Saint-Germain to European glory became harder with every passing year. Then came the World Cup. For Brazil, Neymar wasn't just another player. He carried the hopes of an entire nation. In 2014, his tournament ended in heartbreak after a devastating back injury against Colombia ruled him out before the semifinal. Brazil would go on to suffer one of the darkest nights in football history, a 7-1 defeat to Germany. Many wondered, could Neymar have changed history if he had been there? 4 years later in Russia, Brazil dreamed again. But once more the journey ended before the final. Then came Qatar in 2022. Perhaps this was his last great opportunity. Neymar scored one of the finest goals of his international career against Croatia in the quarterfinals. For a few moments, Brazil believed they were heading to the semifinals. Then everything changed. Croatia equalized late in extra time. The match went to penalties. Brazil were eliminated. As Croatian players celebrated, Neymar sat alone on the pitch, silent, heartbroken. It became one of the defining images of his career. The prince had come so close to the crown, only to watch it slip away once again. And yet, one final chapter still remained. One last World Cup. One final chance to write history. North America, FIFA World Cup 2026. The year was 2026. For Neymar, it wasn't just another tournament. It was one final opportunity, one last chance to chase the dream that had followed him since he first wore Brazil's famous yellow shirt. A dream shared by an entire nation, to lift the FIFA World Cup. But football doesn't always give legends the ending they deserve. Brazil entered the knockout stage carrying the hopes of millions. Standing in their way, Norway. It was a match few expected Brazil to lose. Yet as the final whistle approached, the impossible was becoming reality. Norway led. Brazil were running out of time. Neymar, determined to fight until the very end, converted a stoppage time penalty. For one brief moment, there was hope, but it wasn't enough. The final whistle blew. Brazil had been eliminated. Their World Cup dream was over. For the first time since 1990, Brazil had failed to reach the quarterfinals of a World Cup. As Norwegian players celebrated, Neymar stood motionless. The stadium that had once witnessed the beginning of his international journey had now witnessed its end. Fighting back tears, Neymar suggested that his time with Brazil was over. He said simply, "I tried, now it's over." It was a heartbreaking farewell, not because he lacked talent, not because he lacked courage, but because football can be cruel, even to its brightest stars. Neymar will retire as Brazil's all-time leading goal scorer, a Champions League winner, an Olympic gold medalist, a player who inspired millions with his skill, creativity, and joy. Some will remember the injuries. Others will remember the transfers. Some will remember the trophies he didn't win. But generations of football fans will remember something else. The impossible dribbles, the fearless smile, the magic that made the beautiful game even more beautiful. Perhaps he never became football's king, but every kingdom needs a prince. And for more than a decade, Brazil had one unlike any other. Neymar Jr., the prince who never became king.